Good morning, Cougs. You are listening to Slice of Seattle on KUGR Cougar College Radio. I'm Smith Sly. I'm your host. It's the show where I'm giving you updates, hot takes, and hopefully talk to some important people. It is a beautiful, beautiful day on the Palouse today. It's looking to be about 80 degrees, and Cougar football is down at Boise State. They're going to be kicking off. I believe kickoff is 7 o'clock for that game. The Cougs are currently 4-0, looking to make that 5-0. Looking pretty good this year. I'm excited. I'm going to be watching that game. I'll probably listen to it to the radio call, listening to it through KUGR, actually. If you look KUGR Sports on YouTube, they'll do the live streams, radio calls for most of the football games, volleyball games, all Cougar Sports and everything. You follow them on YouTube. Again, it's Cougar Sports. They do a pretty great job. They do a really good job with those football games. Super fun to listen to. So I'll definitely be listening to that when they're live streaming on YouTube. It's going to be great. But let's jump in and let's talk about the thing that I don't really want to talk about today, but I have to talk about. As of Thursday, the Mariners have been officially, mathematically eliminated from the playoffs. It's depressing. It's sad. It's very frustrating. There's a multitude of emotions that I'm feeling right now, and anger is one of them. But, yeah, no, it came down to that. It was the Kansas City Royals game and the Kansas City Royals against the Nationals. We needed the Nationals to win that in order to keep some hope alive. But, I mean, to be honest, even if the Nationals had won that, then it's just the next game that we need them to lose, and then the next game, and the next game. You can only hold out hope for so long. But, yeah, no, I was in class, and I was watching the box score for that Royals-Nationals game, and I looked over at one point and said final score 6-4, and I just knew. I was like, that's it. That was the season right there. It all comes down to whether or not it was between the Royals and the Tigers, I think, if they could trip up towards the end, lose out or whatever it was. But they didn't, so we're done. Our hopes are gone. The dream is dead, and it's really sad. I'll try and stay positive about it. I'll try not to cry. But, I mean, there were some positives. I mean, towards the end we had a great September. To be honest, I'm not going to sit here and say that September for us, we played horrible baseball. We heated up towards the end. We started to clutch up a little bit. I think probably because we realized that, if we don't clutch up right here, if we don't start putting together a franchise best September, we're not going to make the playoffs. And the goal of any baseball team, no matter how bad you are, is always to make playoffs. That should always be your goal. It should never not be to make playoffs. Julio he had a 2020 season earlier. I can't remember which game it was. He secured it, I believe it was in one of those games against the Astros. He picked up his 20th home run. He already had the 20 stolen bases down. So he has back-to-back-to-back 2020 seasons. He's only the second player in baseball history to have 3 2020 seasons, I believe, in his first 3 years in the show. Is it as impressive as Shohei's 50-50 season? No, probably not. Mainly because Shohei's, he's the only person in the 50-50 club, so that he's kind of on his own little pedestal. But still, hats off to Julio. Gets his third straight 2020 season. I love it. It's good to watch. It's good to see a guy like Julio still be able to have some success even when the team around him feels like it's on fire. Granted, I'm a little frustrated that it took this long, the last 4 or 5 games for him to get that 20th home run, especially when you got guys like Aaron Judge who are, knocking on 60 home runs almost, and Shohei Ohtani. Really, if you look at Shohei Ohtani's number, I don't know, I think they got about 3 or 4, I actually think it's like 4 or 5 more games left for the Dodgers, right, or whatever it is. If he keeps playing the way he's playing, Shohei could be looking at a 60-60 season. I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think there's enough time left. I think he'll probably just miss it, doing it in the regular season. I think he's going to hit more home runs, steal a lot more bases in the postseason, obviously. So I think if you add those up, he could be looking at a 60-60 season, maybe a 70-70 season if he makes it to the postseason. But, that's asking a lot out of him, and he's already done a lot this season. So, it's really frustrating. It's frustrating to see us miss out on playoffs and seeing other teams just, this week everybody's clinching their playoff berths and everything. And so, you see the posts of them with the champagne, they're celebrating everything, and then there's just us just, We got to finish out the season. Got to play those last couple games. If I'm being totally honest, though, and anybody who knows me knows that this goes against my core values as a competitor. To be honest, this last series against the Athletics, I know we picked up a win last night, 2-0. If I'm being totally honest with you, I almost just want us to let the Athletics win those last couple games, or at the very least, just let them win the last game. Because I mean, they're done. They played their last series in the Coliseum ever. They're not going to go. They're going to be moving to Las Vegas, so the Oakland Athletics are done. They're gone. They're not going to exist anymore. So to be honest, I would say let them go out with a bang. Let them have those last couple games or whatever. And I know that goes against everything I believe in as a competitor, but at the same time, I'm also just, I feel like we deserve that. Let them get those wins because, I mean, at the end of the day, these last 2 games don't matter anymore. We're not making the playoffs. I mean, they wouldn't matter even if we did make the playoffs, but at the same time, it's just me being bitter and spiteful and very angry, and I kind of just am super frustrated at them. If I'm being totally honest too, I'm shocked. I am shocked and appalled that Jerry DiPoto still has a job. 9 years. You've been the president of baseball operations for about 9 years now. You've led us to 1 playoff appearance. And I believe, too, he said at one point, I think after last season, when we missed it last season, he said, like, the goal isn't to make the playoffs. His goal is to be over 500, no, or whatever his whole argument was about that, which I hated. I hated hearing him say that. Because it's just such a weak mentality, competitive-wise. I mean, it's just not competitive. It's just not a baseball mindset, and I hate that. It frustrates me so much. So really, when you look at it, there are a number. I mean, I don't like blaming players, but I will. I think that it's a combination of the players' fault, and it's also the Jerry DiPoto and the whole managerial staff of the Mariners. It's kind of a collective failure. I mean, when you look at the Mitch Garver and Jorge Polanco, both of them put up fantastic seasons. Polanco put up a fantastic season with the Twins, right? He did great. Mitch Garver put up a fantastic season with the Rangers last year. They won the World Series. And you're telling me that they come to Seattle and they forget how to hit the baseball. That makes no sense to me. No sense whatsoever. It is incredibly frustrating. Seriously frustrating. So that's probably where I'll say, I blame the players. Guys who have performed in the past, are capable of performing, have put up fantastic seasons before, have a track record of being great, and then for some reason, they put on a Mariners jersey, and it's as though they forget to play baseball. They forget how to do it. And that makes it feels like we're cursed, which I don't like saying that. I don't like feeling that way, because I know we're not cursed. I know we're not. I know for a fact that we are a fantastic baseball team. We're capable of making the playoffs, but for some reason, we just don't do it. We just forget how to play baseball in key moments. And that's the thing, too. The door was held open for us numerous times during the season. We had a 10-game lead at one point. 10-game lead. That's a dominant lead. That is a back-breaking lead. That is a lead that no one should be able to close the gap on. Period. And then somehow we're looking at that open door, and then we trip, and we fall on our face. And then the door closes. And then, now it's September. We get up. We try and open the door again, but it's locked. They put a padlock on it. The window is closed. The door is closed. You're not. It's over. You had your opportunity. It was right in front of you. It was right there. And now, no matter how hard you try here in September, you've put yourself in a situation where you have to rely on good teams to play horribly, which is not going to happen because they're good teams and they're capable of clutching up, and they recognize when the door has been held open for them, and they are going to walk through that door. But unfortunately, we're not able to. And really, when I blame the managerial staff, I look at it like it feels to me like they just constantly do a song and dance routine to keep us happy and make us feel like they're doing something to help us out and improve us. But at the end of the day, everything that they do ends up not helping us. So, the end of the 2023 season, you get rid of Eugenio Suarez. Horrible move. Horrible, horrible move. He is a fantastic baseball player who's played phenomenally for us. He hits home runs. He's a power hitter. He's a lockdown third baseman. Everyone loved Gino. I love Gino. Eugenio Suarez was one of the best third basemen I've seen. I mean, since Kyle Seager. He's fantastic. You don't keep him on the team. Teoscar Hernandez, at the end of the 2023 season, you don't extend an offer to him to have him stay on this lineup. Did he put up a great season for us in 2023? I wouldn't say it was his best season. It wasn't great, but even not his best season, it's still a good season. He was hitting the ball really well. He was a home run hitter. He could hit in clutch situations. He had a couple of games during the 2023 season where he walked it off because he's a fantastic hitter. So you don't extend an offer to him for whatever reason. He gets picked up by the Dodgers, and he's having one of the best seasons of his career. He's playing fantastically. And you know how frustrating that is? It's frustrating enough to see the Dodgers with Shohei, with Max Muncy, with Freddie Freeman, with Mookie Betts. But now you get to see Teoscar Hernandez, who was a Mariner for a year, who we 100% could have maintained. We could have afforded him. We could have brought him back on. But instead we're going to save money, let him go to the Dodgers, and then the Dodgers put up, the numbers that they're putting. It's so frustrating. And then their solution to the hitting problem is to get Mitch Garver and Jorge Polanco, who are two duds. Now, I will say, Jorge Polanco, in September, has been hitting the ball a lot better. Again, he's been heating up, I think, because he's also realizing that, we're probably going to miss the playoffs if we don't start playing well. So he's been playing good. I'm not angry at him, per se. But Mitch Garver, I mean, I don't even want to talk about him. I don't even want to say his name. It hurts my mouth to say his name. Because how do you put up a season like you did with the Rangers and win the World Series, and then now you play for the Mariners, you're wearing the Mariners uniform, and you can't even hit above 200? I know he picked up a home run in yesterday's game against the Athletics, but I mean, again, you're playing against the Athletics, so you should be able to hit the ball really well against them. But still, I mean, if next season he is still wearing a Mariners jersey, I would 100% give up on this team. I might not even watch any of the games that year. Because the no-brainer decision, the no-brainer move is to get rid of him. Dump him. He's bad goods. He is, for some reason, he doesn't click with this program. He doesn't play well with us, which is fine. That happens. Sometimes there are just guys like that who just they don't mesh well with a team. They just don't. That happens sometimes. It sucks because you see a really good player, you got to let him walk out the door because you know they're not going to play well with you. But if we, for some reason, have him with us next year, I'm going to be really, really, really frustrated because, and again, it's not that I don't like him as a person. He's a fine person. It's just as a baseball player. That's it. I just don't want him here at the moment. But yeah, I'm a little frustrated with the Mariners. For some reason, being resigned to being a mediocre team, which I hate. I hate mediocre teams. I would rather us be the White Sox right now, having, on the verge of setting the most losses in MLB history, right? Because at least then, you're at bottom. You've hit rock bottom. You know that there's nowhere left to go but up. You want to know what the problem with a mediocre team is, though? The only place you have to go from there, and for a mediocre team, you can go up, but there's also a long way you can fall. You can fall so far, and you can continue to get worse before you get better. And you're stuck in that little limbo of not being good and not being horrible, but you just don't do anything significant. And I hate that. I hate that so much. So I'll watch these I'll begrudgingly watch these last couple games from the Mariners with the Athletics. Again, I think they should just kind of let Oakland have it. Let them go off on a last hurrah before their team folds, basically. But that's just my opinion. They're probably still going to play good baseball against them because, they're probably angry. I'd be angry, too, if I was on the Mariners. But yeah, that's all I'm going to talk about on my little rant about the Mariners right now. Let's move on. Let's talk about the Seahawks. it's such better news with the Seahawks, to be honest. I'm really happy with the Seahawks right now. 3-0, undefeated on the year. I am loving it. It's a good time to be a Seahawks fan right now. You get a much better win against the Dolphins than you did against the Patriots and the Broncos. Much better win. 26-3. Love that. It's not as close as the game against Denver. You don't have to go to overtime like you did against the Patriots. You win it. You have a very dominating win against the Dolphins. That's fantastic. It was a defensive masterclass, as the two words I'd use to describe that, right? Not a single touchdown. You hold them to one field goal the entire game. That is just... And when you looked at it, too, the Dolphins had 2 times when they were within 10 yards, and we were able to shut them down. That is amazing. That is fantastic. Granted, I will say this. You're doing that against after Tua, he's still out. He has his concussion and everything. So you're doing that against the backup quarterback for Miami. It feels like taking candy from a baby a little bit. Like, I can only be so proud of us doing that. But at the same time, I'll still take it. A win is a win. I love it. Charbonnet is looking phenomenal. Phenomenal. 2 rushing touchdowns in that game against Miami. He's looking great. He's filling in that spot really, really well. And if I'm being perfectly honest, if I'm Kenneth Walker, I am a little worried for my job. Just a little bit. Because in your absence, Charbonnet has been putting up great numbers. He's running the ball really well. He's getting touchdowns. They trust him enough to give him the ball in key situations. So, I think honestly, I would take Charbonnet over Walker. So, when Walker has an oblique injury, when Walker comes back, I'd be expecting him to be splitting time with Charbonnet, to be honest, because I think Charbonnet's looking like the better running back. And that's just my opinion, though. And, that's just what I think. But Metcalf had another touchdown in the game against the Dolphins, really similar to the one he had against New England. Gets open, nobody on him, and I think they were running zone coverage. He gets the open space. He gets the football. And again, and I said this before, if you give Metcalf the football and he sees open space, he's gone. He is too fast. You will not catch him. And that's what happened. He gets the ball. There's no one on him. He sees open space, takes off, and they weren't even close to catching him. He was gone. He's too fast. He's such an athletic specimen that if he gets the ball and is by himself with nobody to cover him, he's going to make the catch, and he's going to be able to run in for a touchdown because he's just that quick. He is fantastic. Again, I love watching DK Metcalf play. And again, that whole game was just a much better game offensively for the Seahawks. Again, it's not as close as those first 2 games. You win by a much larger margin. You're trusting to throw the ball to guys, throwing the ball to Jackson Smith and Jigba, throw it to Tyler Lockett, throw it to DK Metcalf. Charbonnet's picking up the slack, running the ball really, really well. We're looking offensively sharp, and then defensively, we're locked down. Again, I will say, we're doing that against the backup QB for the Dolphins right now. So there's, I wouldn't get too excited about that. But still, a defensive masterclass nonetheless. And I love it. Mike McDonald is running a very defensive-heavy team, which is great. Because I was thinking about it, too, when I was watching that game, before they were talking about how the Seahawks have one of the highest pressure defenses in the league right now. And they're going. I felt really bad for the backup QB for Miami because I was like, man, that's just gotta suck. If I believe it was week 2, Tua gets knocked out with his head injury, and then you gotta go, and then the very next game you go play is against the highest pressure defense in the entire league, and you just have no time to get anything off because as soon as that ball is snapped, they're just on you, and there's just nothing you can do. I felt really kind of bad for him a little bit, but at the same time, I'll take a win. Seahawks are playing on Monday. They're playing against the Lions. I think this is going to be the first tough opponent we've had all year. We've had a really walk in the park first 3 games, right? We're undefeated, but we're undefeated against some of the worst teams right now in the league, and who are probably going to end up finishing last. And so the Lions are probably going to be the first tough opponent we play this year. I wouldn't say the Dolphins. I wouldn't say the Lions are significantly. They're not a fantastic team, but they're better than the past 3 teams we've played. So I think they're probably going to give us a little bit of trouble. My hope is that we just keep the aggression going, keep it going forward, and pick up a win against the Lions, stay undefeated, keep moving, use that pressure, and then hopefully we are a playoff contending team. Because that's what I know we are. That's what we look like, and that's how I know we can play. So that's all I'm going to say about that. Moving on, let's talk about the Kraken today. It has been a rough start to the preseason, to say the least. So you get kicked around a little bit, 6-1 against Calgary. That's just a rough game. Granted, we had a lot of our not starting guys playing in that game. A lot of the younger guys, the rookies, guys who didn't get a lot of ice time last year because they're not our top guys starting in that game. Again, it's preseason. I'm not going to get too upset about preseason losses just because it's just not that important. But at the same time, I feel like the preseason is a fairly good indicator of how your season is going to go. It's showing you what kind of aggression you're coming out onto the ice with, how smooth you're working together, how well everything's meshing. And so what I will say, though, in that 6-1 loss, the Kraken didn't look bad. That's the one thing I want to emphasize. We didn't look horrible. It wasn't as though we weren't executing our passes, we looked sloppy or whatever. We looked clean. We looked crisp. That whole game, I was watching us play, and it looked great. We were executing our passes. We were smooth. We were meshing really well together. All of our guys looked like they were moving really, really well together. There are two main things that I'll take away from that game that are the reasons why we ended up losing that. Number one, our shots on goal. So that's the thing. We outshot Calgary. They beat us 6-1, but we outshot them in all three periods, right? And the problem is, though, that our shots on goal just have no meat behind them. There's no power. We're putting the puck on goal, sure, but it's just really easy to clear it, block it, what have you. We're not putting any really good bids in for a goal. We're able to scrape one across after out shooting them, but that was like the one quality shot we had all game. The second reason why we ended up losing that game was our defense was horrible. Horrible. That's the best way I can describe it. It was awful. We were leaving guys unmarked all game. They basically just got down to the ice, got established, had a guy open the entire time, get the puck to him one time. Grubauer worked the first two periods of that game, and just no chance. There's no one there to help block for him. Puck it's an easy goal. And they ended up putting 6 across, right? And then we had our other guy, I believe his name was Statska, is the other goalie we had worked that third period. He looked decent. He looked okay. He's probably going to be our third string goalie this year is what I'm thinking. But he's looking pretty good. Then you have your game against the Canucks in Vancouver. A lot more starters played that game. I think we saw Tanev start in that game, Yanni Gord, McCann, and we saw Brandon Montour for the first time. That was the first preseason game he played in. He looked good. He looked fantastic. All the guys were looking great. And the one thing I'll say, too, about that game against the Canucks, we ended up losing that one, too, which is, again, what I'm saying, like a kind of a rough start to these preseason games. Brandon Montour is looking like he is meshing really, really well with our guys. He's executing his passes. He's fitting in really well. It's flowing. It's looking really good. It's looking fantastic, which is what I like to see. I hate seeing guys get on the team who just look like they don't fit in that well. They don't kind of mesh, and then you kind of realize that they're not going to be there that long. Honestly, that's kind of what happened with the Mariners with Justin Turner and Randy Arozarena, like those midway through the season additions who really aren't contributing that much, and they ended up. I don't really feel like any of them. They didn't mesh with us. They don't look like Mariners. They didn't feel like that. That's not the case with Brandon Montour. He looked great. He looked fantastic. He was fun to watch in that Canucks game. Granted, you ended up losing that, but he's flowing really well, which is great to see. Then they played the Canucks again last night at Climate Pledge Arena. Brandon Montour and Chandler Stevenson getting starts in that game. I saw them on the two of them were on the starting line for that game, and I was looking at that and I was like, that is a really stacked starting line. That is some of our best guys out there for that preseason game. That's going to be pretty fun to watch. I wasn't able to watch it. It wasn't streaming anywhere where I could see it. I went back and watched the highlights, though. Brandon Montour picked up his first preseason goal in that game. It was from well out because, he's a defenseman, back at the blue line, gets the puck, sees a window, sees his shooting lane, hits it, just buries it into the back of the net. A beautiful goal. It was super fun to watch. I was just watching the highlights. I was like, that is just fantastic. So, again, Brandon Montour, I think, is a fantastic addition to this lineup. And I think he meshes really well with our guys. He plays really well with them. It feels smooth. It feels organic. He's adding, obviously, watching him play in that first Canucks game and then watching him play in the one yesterday, I don't think he's like a super, because obviously he's a defenseman. He's not a huge offensive contributor, mainly because that's the problem I feel like we need to fix for the Kraken, is just getting guys who are really good offensive players who can get in and score goals. But I think he's just going to contribute. He's going to bring that kind of almost veteran leadership to the team, that playoff experience, that Stanley Cup experience, that juice that we kind of need in order to win more games, be a better team overall. I think he's going to be there to help out. And so the same thing with Chandler Stevenson too. I think the two of them are probably going to come in as, former Stanley Cup winners. They're going to come in and bring that air of success that we kind of need. Lift everybody up to a playoff contending team and to a team that could win a championship. Right now, I'm going to turn it over. I got some questions asked by some of the listeners. I want to address them on air today. First question, do you think the Kraken have a shot at making the Stanley Cup final this year? I love that question. That is fantastic. What I'll say is this. I think that there is a possibility that the Kraken make the Stanley Cup final this year. Do I think that I think we have to clutch up. We have to play fantastic hockey. We have to be going 100% all the time, constantly. And with a little bit of luck, we can make the Stanley Cup final. Do I think that we will take the cup home with us? Probably not. I don't think that we are a championship team yet. I think that we are we're a very strong team. We're making good choices, adding guys who we need, who are going to help make this team better. And we're definitely gonna make playoffs. We could go far in playoffs with the team that we have right now. Possibly, if we really work hard at it, really clutch up, play the hockey that we're capable of playing, we could make the Stanley Cup. But I think we would be up against a team that has a lot more experience than us, with a lot more talent, and I think we would probably end up losing that Stanley Cup final. Probably won't take the cup home with us, which I'd be disappointed because I would love to see us win a Stanley Cup, but at the same time, I think it's kind of a far cry to hope that we win a cup. We can make it, but I don't think we're going to win one. Next question we got is, how did the Mariners get eliminated again? Are they throwing on purpose at this point? I don't remember the last time they were good. Is the only World Series they can win the third World Series? So that's kind of clever. I like that. That's a nice little jab at the Mariners. Look, the last time the Mariners were good was that 2022 season. Full stop. That was the team I could get behind, and I saw them going far in the playoffs, possibly making it to the World Series if they really worked hard at it. Obviously, they got eliminated by the Astros, which was devastating. But it really just comes down to the managerial decisions. What choices we were making, what guys we were deciding to keep, where our heads were at money-wise. Because it feels like to me, the Mariners' the managerial side of the Mariners, their whole goal is just to save money. To not extend contracts to guys they think are too expensive, who they don't think are worth it. Get guys for cheap who are hopefully going to produce a little bit, who end up not producing anything. And it just comes down to that. It comes down to them making decisions on the guys that we're deciding to keep. The number one thing I'd point to is the Teoscar Hernandez situation. Why do you not extend an offer to him? Keep him on the team. Because he is a fantastic baseball player who can play good baseball for you. He can. He's doing it right now with the Dodgers. You don't extend an offer to him. He goes somewhere else and puts up a career season with them. And you could have had that. Who cares if he's a little expensive? You have the money. It's not that we don't have the money. It's that the management is being cheap about it. And it's frustrating. That is so frustrating for me. I hate to see a capitalist mindset get in the way of a baseball competitive winning mindset. That's what I need. I need someone in there who doesn't care about the money, who doesn't care about saving money. I need someone who's going to get the guys that we need on the team, keep the guys who we need on the team, so that we can become playoff contenders again, right? There's no excuse. There is no excuse that we make the playoffs in 2022, miss it in 2023, and miss it again in 2024. No excuse. We had a playoff contending team, and somehow management's been able to go backwards from that. You break the drought. You break the 20-year drought, and then now you're just going to recede back. That makes no sense to me. So I think it's not on purpose per se. I wouldn't say that. I would say it is just people who probably shouldn't be in the position that they're in, making decisions that they should not be making, that end up hurting the team. And it's sad, and it's really frustrating. There's nothing I can do about it. There's nothing anybody can do about it except get rid of those people, specifically Jerry DiPoto. But, yeah, the hope is focus on next year. Try and put together a team next year that's actually going to be able to make the playoffs. But I have a really, really, really bad feeling it's going to be another drought for a really long time. Last question we have today. Are the Seahawks contenders or pretenders after 3 games? I like this question. This is good. I would say they are neither pretenders nor contenders, to be honest with you, after these first 3 games. Because I wouldn't sit here and say that they are a horrible football team who's lucked into these 3 wins against bad teams, what have you. They're good. They have a good lineup. They have great players on that team who can produce a lot. Are they contenders, though? I would not go that far. I would not say that they are a super, super strong team. There are so many teams in the NFL that are much better than us right now, because looking at how we played against the Broncos, against the Patriots, and even if you just look against the Dolphins, we don't really look like we're a Super Bowl contending team. We look like we may make playoffs, but I feel like we would get eliminated pretty quick. That's what it looks like to me. So again, neither contender nor pretender. Again, because if you look at it, these first 3 games have been really easy for us. We've been playing really, really easy opponents. Haven't really been challenged that much. And then now you're going to be playing against the Lions, who are, again, probably the first tough team we play. And our schedule only gets harder from here on, right? So you're going to be playing much harder teams. You're going to get challenged a lot more. If you keep playing the football that you're playing right now, you're not going to be undefeated. You gotta use my hope, again, I said this earlier too. My hope is that you take the juice that you got right now from being undefeated, right? You take that drive, you take that energy you got right now, and you push it into Monday. And you get a win against the Lions, which I know is possible. We can totally do that if we play at 100% constantly through 4 quarters. We could win against the Lions. We could win against any team, to be honest. But we just got to be able to play the football we are capable of playing. Don't play down to our opponents. Don't let really good teams beat up on us when we go and play them. Don't become complacent because you're undefeated. Stay aggressive. Keep playing good football. And I think that we definitely have a chance of continuing our undefeated streak. We definitely have a chance. I feel like that. So yeah, again, neither contenders nor pretenders. We're somewhere in between, which again, like the Mariners, I don't like that because it means you're somewhere in the mediocre range. And I hate teams that are mediocre because, again, you got a long way to fall before it gets better. So that's all I'll say about that question. But yeah, no, if you guys ever have any questions, feel free. I'll usually make a post about it. You can put it in the comments, or you can DM me directly on Instagram at Slice of Seattle Radio. I'll answer them live on air. But yeah, that's pretty much all I've got to talk about today. It's been a really crazy week, really sad week with the Mariners and everything. So I'll continue to talk about them, even though their season is over. I'll probably still talk about them later on in later episodes, but I'll be focusing in more on the Seahawks, more on the Kraken. The Kraken home opener it's close. It's October 8th, I believe. It's super fast. I'm getting excited. I didn't realize how close October was until the other day. I looked and I realized it's only a couple days away. I'm getting excited. That's just that feeling in my chest when you know that like it's almost hockey season, and that's just what I'm gonna be watching. There's just so many games to be able to watch. I'm gonna be so excited about it. I'm looking forward to it. I think the Kraken are gonna be great this year. So, yeah, that's all I got for today, everybody. Thank you guys so much for listening. Again, you're listening to Slice of Seattle on KUGR Cougar College Radio. Remember, it is a great day to have a great day, and go Cougs.